Back on the Northland Sports page, this is hour number 2. This content is very specific for a reason. If you watched the Northland Sports page special edition on Monday in honor of what should have been the NCAA championship in men's basketball, we ended up drifting into what became a fantasy draft of our all-time Timberwolves starting lineup. And that was because we were talking about Kevin Garnett in the Hall of Fame class for basketball. Had a lot of fun with that. Had a lot of fun with the fantasy draft idea. And guys, with no sports live happening, we thought, why not do this all the time? We started the show today with our baseball withdrawal and how can we overcome that? This could be a method. We're going to do our all-time Twins team, at least according to who's going to be available for us as we draft.
Yeah, this should be fun, Brian. And again, if you or somebody out there wants to put these teams together and actually play them, I think that would be very interesting to see who comes out on top.
It will be in the draft order. This is legit. The draft order on Monday was just kind of you go, and then I'll go. This one, we did it a little more Academy Award style. We had it verified. We had this live on video before we started today. Maybe a little bit of home cooking, pun intended, because Dana Cook did the drawing. And oh, by the way, Dave Cook has the number 1 pick. But it will be Dave, Topher, and then myself. But it is a snake draft. So to be on the bookends isn't a bad spot. Topher in the middle, I don't think that's a bad spot either. That's the joy of when there's only 3 of us. These should be 3 good teams when we're done.
It's going to be like the NFL draft this year, where we're going to draft Joe Burrow's and easy. Chase Young is probably pretty easy, and after that, the draft is wide open.
So you're saying it's unfortunate to be 3rd? Got it.
I'm saying you'll have the best of the best. Topher and I are going to cherry pick, and then you'll have everybody else to choose from.
All right, so this is how this is going to go. What we are going to do is this will be a 15-round draft, and round 16 will be separate, where we will pick the managers for our respective teams. And we will draft the managers in the same order. So depending upon if it's 3-2-1 or 1-2-3, we will continue that order for that round. And what the draft is going to look like positionally, you're going to do your offensive 9, so that puts an end to the DH debate. There will be one for us here. This is an American League team that we're drafting for. And then you have 5 pitchers, 5 starters for a rotation. 9 plus 5 is 14. And then your 15th player, and that doesn't have to be the order in which you take them. 15th player, I'll be interested to see if Dave even wants one, will be your closer.
Yeah, that's true. So should we get started?
Nope.
Did we want?
Brian's talking with his mute on. But one thing I do want to verify is that you mentioned, you went, offensive. So we can take, if Dave wanted to take Jack Morris first round, he could.
Absolutely.
He could, yes. There is no order by which you have to select the player in terms of position. One thing I think we should do, but I am very democratic in terms of my own society here. I'm open to your guys' ideas. But I do think when you draft somebody, you should declare where you're going to put them.
Yep, I'm good with that. We have to do that because we have guys, all-time Twins who've played multiple positions.
Right. One of my favorite players, I don't know if I'll end up drafting him, but one of my favorite players in the history of the Twins is Michael Kadire. I could put him at any of basically the 9. He's even pitched before. Come on.
Yep, no, I agree with that. And I do think we should really, as fast as possible, say why we picked that player. I think it makes for a better show.
All right, Northland Sports page, all-time Twins fantasy draft, round 1, pick 1. Mr. Dave Cook, you're on the clock.
The Northland Sports page, all-time Minnesota Twins draft is now open. Roger Goodell. Well, I think there's a couple of guys that we're looking at. I think that we have to look at Kirby. I think we have to look at Jomar, and I think we probably have to look at Killebrew as really the 3 options for the number 1 pick overall. Brian, and I'm going to disappoint everybody, and I'm taking the low-hanging fruit on this, and my starting center fielder is going to be Kirby Puckett.
It's the great pick. It's the right pick. It's the best pick. He is the best all-around Twin. A lot would argue for another player that I'm not going to name because there are drafts that still have to take place, but there shouldn't be anybody out there shocked or upset by that pick.
Yep, and so I'll probably he'll be my center field and he'll hit 3rd most likely.
That's a pretty hard to argue with that pick, having Kirby Puckett, Hall of Famer, in center field. So we're gonna move on to pick number 2.
Pick number 2.
Oh,
who's on
baby.
the board for you, Toph? Who's on
you
the board
you left
for
some players out there. You left some players out there for sure. I mean, you picked one. So it's disappointing to see Kirby go off the board. I was hoping maybe you might go another way and I'd be able to sneak in and take him with the second pick. But with the second pick of the fantasy Minnesota Twins all-time team draft, Team Topher is going to draft in left field, where he spent some time, Harmon Killebrew.
Ooh.
Interesting. Not shocked by the player at all.
I'm going to have him play left, though.
A little surprised by the position. Not saying it's a bad thing, just a little surprised.
It's a bit of a strategic play. I mean, obviously it depends, but I think he did spend some time in left field, and I think that there might be more depth at other positions, is where I'm thinking there.
Nice work, Toph.
Thank you.
All right, that's fair. So with the third pick, unfortunately, the two that I thought would be gone by the time that my turn came is exactly how this played out. I feel a little bit like the Minnesota Timberwolves did when they got Christian Laettner and Shaq and Zoe were already gone. But it is what it is. There's not a lot I can do about that. Ironically, I think the decision was a little tougher at 3 because there's a lot of directions you can go. And shockingly, having the fourth pick right after it didn't necessarily make that decision any easier because it wasn't necessarily, a coin flip between two guys and I'll just go ahead and get them both. But with the third pick, just because it seems like blasphemy if I don't respectfully take him this high, I will take Rod Carew and I will put him at second base. He did not play second base a lot as a Twin, but the position he did play with the Twins, Topher talked about depth in other spots. I think there's plenty of depth at that first base position where Rod was more commonly known for as a Twin.
And Rodney's best years were at a second base. I mean, his early 70 seasons where he tore up the American League, those were as second baseman.
So with the fourth pick, as I get to start round 2 as well, I wanted to put my head above my heart here. I wanted to, and I should have. But there are enough viewers and listeners that are going to go, there's no way with everything that he's stood on as a platform that he's going to take the guy that should be picked fourth overall. And I absolutely know, and I respect the guy that should be picked fourth overall. But I'm going to give him to the person that's going to go after me instead because he loves him and I don't. And I just can't have him on my team because it doesn't make sense. If I wanted to win, I could. And if I was just making an all-time team at a position, he'd be on it. But since this team exclusively belongs to me, and I don't like to be called a hypocrite, I'm going to pass on the probably fourth best player available. And with pick 4, I'm going to go with Tony Oliva, and I'm going to put him in left field.
So, Topher, was there any surprise that the number 4 pick overall, the only surprise there was maybe it was going to be number 3, Brian's father's favorite player, was going to be on Brian's team?
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all that he took Tony O. I am Team Topher is ecstatic that he left who should have been picked in that position available. But I mean, if you would have gone the way I'm going to go, I would have taken Tony O next. So it's a very good pick right there for Brian. But moving on, I guess with the fifth pick in the second pick of the second round, I got to go with catcher, Mr. MVP Joe Mauer. He's easily the best catcher available, I think, and so I have him there playing catcher. I can't not take him in that
right
spot.
And for the first time in my life, I can't make an argument against Joe Mauer. I should have had him again in an all-time team. He is my catcher. This doesn't say what portions of the career they have playing for you. Topher's not getting Joe Mauer the last 3 years. He's getting MVP Joe G, as he says.
Exactly.
But again, if you're as public about Joe Mauer and your opinion on him as I am, it looks terrible if I take him. So merry belated Christmas to Topher Davis.
All
and
right,
when I end up with Junior Ortiz, you can all laugh.
So I've got the next 2, right, guys?
Correct.
All right. So I drafted Kirby number 1 overall, which made sense. And who else is gone? So Killebrew's gone, Carew's gone, Oliva's gone, and Mauer's gone, right?
Correct.
Did I miss anybody?
Nope.
All right. So for my next 2 picks, yikes. There's a
all of a sudden it gets harder.
steep drop off after.
Yeah, all of a sudden it gets harder.
Yep. There's a steep drop. All right, so because the gigantic drop is at catcher, I'm taking Earl Batty next because he is by far catcher number 2. So we have to do that. Boy, oh boy, I think I'm gonna start my rotation with pitcher number 1, and that's going to be. Are we playing a whole season? Or are we playing one game? So if we're playing one game, it's one guy. If we're playing a whole season, it's another.
You're playing a whole season because we said you get 5 starters. I don't think you're going to use 5 starters in one game.
No, that's true. See, that's why I asked those questions because I may have gotten that wrong. So, dang. Before I go and say something stupid and go, man, I should have drafted that guy. All right, so maybe instead of doing that, I'm going to go back to the outfield and draft Torrey.
Ooh.
Good pick.
And
where are you playing him?
You're
playing him in.
He'll be my left fielder. My center fielder is Kirby.
Wow, I'd have played him in right just because he did play right as a Twin at some point.
Oh,
yeah,
all right. So I'll have to play him in right then. I didn't.
No, you don't have to. You don't have to.
Yeah,
when you have tons of drop balls and left on the simulator, we'll just giggle.
There you go. All right, so that's interesting. So Dave goes with Earl Batty. I like the Earl Batty pick because you're right. There is a pretty significant drop off at catcher after those 2. So Brian might end up with Junior Ortiz as his.
No. I've got 2 in mind that both couldn't throw me out running the bases, but I like their offense.
No, I'm with you. There's a bit of a joke there, and that's Torrey Hunter off the board as well. So there we go. So I think I'm gonna maybe break Brian's heart a little bit here. I'm gonna go first base, Kent Hrbek.
Yeah, that just crushed me. Not gonna lie. That was lined up and ready to happen.
Yeah, so I'm happy to get him there. I get another. I've got out of my 3 players, I've got 2 Minnesota natives so far on this team with Joe Mauer and Kent Hrbek. So things are going pretty well right now, I think, for Team Topher.
Well, and what pick are we on here? 7, and I would say that the Twins that have been picked so far, you can have your own order, but most of them, Torrey might be the outlier, would be in the top 5, 6 Twins of all time.
Yep, this is draft pick actually number 9.
Okay. All right. Now I got to read. Well, now I have to go pitching. And I think I'm going to go pitching twice.
Yep, that's what I'd do.
So one of them is going to be Johan Santana.
Yep, he's the one game guy.
Yeah.
And I'm going to pass on a Hall of Famer, which doesn't sit very well with me. But
you're going to go with the one I'd have picked, too.
Well, the one Hall of Famer that I passed on, there's a couple that you could play with, but I'm gonna go with the guy that has a Gold Glove in addition to very good pitching ability.
18 of them?
Yeah, my 1-2 rotation right now is Johan Santana followed by Jim Cott.
You stink. You and I hang out.
Yeah, that's
pretty
good right now.
My outfield is gonna struggle because I only have 1 right now, but I like the way that I can win games on the mound so far.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's pretty good right there. Getting those 2 guys at the top of your starting rotation is difficult to beat. Seeing Johan go, certainly difficult for Team Topher. I'm trying to think of which way I want to go now. Do I go? What do I got here? Because there's a pretty precipitous drop off when it comes to position players right now, I think.
So who do we think the best position players are that are left? Let's take.
Well, I don't think I want to answer that question because
then we're giving away some.
Unless that's a very creative way of asking for draft help, I don't think I want to answer that question.
Not at all. But if I'm watching, I may not remember who's available. So
yeah,
I'm going to throw a bunch of names out.
Well, I'm ready to make my pick. I'm ready to submit my pick right now if you want. And I just do want to. I don't know if we discussed it or not, but we're sticking with Minnesota Twins and not going back to the Washington Senators days or anything like that. So that's why just
sorry
for everyone.
Sorry, Walter Johnson. Sorry, Sam Rice.
Exactly, but I'm going to go starting pitching mostly so I can keep him out of the broadcast booth. Bert Blyleven.
Not a bad call for both reasons. You got a good pitcher and a broadcaster that I think a lot of us are tired of, but a lot of us still enjoy. He might be, Joe Mauer, a close second. He might be the most 50-50 Twitter coin flip reaction out there. When you talk about Twins analysts, there are no tweeners, if you will. Everybody loves Bert and his shtick and his humor and his fun, attitude. And then there are, the stat rats and the baseball geeks that are going, get this guy out of there. I learned nothing.
Yep, I think you're 100% right. There's those two for sure. All right, now am I drafting twice? Are we at
You
that?
are.
Yes.
You are.
Yep.
All right, so we're going to start my staff with Jim Perry, Gaylord's brother.
Very
And
nice.
then-
I think you just got the most underrated twin.
And then, well, I'm going to try I'll try for a second most underrated twin, and not one I'm sure I should go at this point, but because I want him on my team is Chuck Knobloch.
There you go.
Well,
Chuck
that's
Knobloch playing second base.
that's a good pick because with the Twins he could still throw to first, so that's not
Yes.
not a
And he
bad
was-
choice.
Absolutely.
And he's my leadoff hitter, and I have Nails in my leadoff spot.
Rookie
Not
of the year.
Not a bad pick. Couple
No,
good picks
not
there.
a bad pick at all. Yeah, for sure. We are definitely getting up there. Who do I want now?
What are we in, round 4, and this is already hard?
Well, it is difficult because now it's trying to get into there's no clear cut.
Well, this is
position player, and we got to fill out 5 starting pitchers. That's my
Right.
biggest thing right now.
To borrow one of Dave's best lines, this is when the Twins become the Hall of Very Good. The greats are gone. Now there's a whole mess of guys that are really good, and that's why, like Dave said, it would be fun to simulate these because there are a number of names, of which I won't give, that would probably have very similar performances.
Yeah, it is interesting, and I this one I think I'm going to take mostly because obviously he only played 1 season with the Minnesota Twins, but it was one of the best seasons ever. Pitched the greatest game ever. Jack Morris. I'm going to take him, put him on my rotation.
That's the biggest surprise so far.
Might be a little high, but
Is it? Is it really? I mean, if the viewers and listeners are just hardcore Twins fans, Twins lore, Jack Morris is in the beginnings, if you will. Is it shocking big picture? Sure, because it's 1 season. But is it shocking really? No.
That 1 season was pretty good.
Yeah, think of the current COVID-19 era that we're in and all the classic games that you're seeing. I've seen Jack Morris's game 7 about 4 times now.
Right. And I'm not saying he didn't have one of the greatest one-game pitching performances of all time, but it goes back to my question to start right away. Are we doing 1 game or are we doing season? If we're doing season, I'm surprised Jack Morris is this high.
Agreed. But didn't he win 18 games that 1 season?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but his ERA was around 4, wasn't it?
Welcome to being an American League pitcher.
Hall of Famer, baby.
I'm glad that Topher brought him in.
Oh,
Because,
sure. Now Dave cares about ERA, but you bring up Jacob deGrom and it's irrelevant.
Well, right. But I'm excited. I'm excited to see the lineups that we're putting together against a 4.0 ERA of Jack Morris.
Let's go.
All right, Brian, who's next?
I am, and I'm struggling because am I going twice here?
Yep.
Yeah.
You guys will both be going twice until we get to the last round.
Fair point. All right, so I've got my left field position is filled, my second base position is filled,
Yep.
and I've
your
got 2 pitchers.
Yeah.
Oh, do I keep front loading pitching? But what direction do you go when you do it? I don't have to worry about catcher because you guys both have them, and I can't imagine you pick them both as DHs, so I'm okay there. Topher stole the first baseman I wanted when I came up with this idea. I am going to take Justin Morneau, and I'm debating where to put him between 2 spots.
Interesting.
But I don't love the rest of the first baseman a ton, so I'm going to put him at first base.
I think that's the right call. I do think having him right there at first right now is the right call.
And my next pick is probably going to be the most shocking of the bunch because I am taking this guy way too high.
You
Way
love him.
too.
Bro. You love him.
No, it's not him yet.
Oh,
Somebody's going to take him from me just to tick me off, and I'm fully prepared for that. But I need a center fielder, and I don't believe with the injury-prone nature of Byron Buxton that I can take him. So if I take him off the board, the center field crop, considering what you guys have already done after Kirby and Torrey, sinks a bit.
Dave did it. Dave got both of them.
Well, right.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do way too high, but I'm worried about the drop off after that, is go ahead and give myself friend of show Denard Span.
oh wow.
That's definitely
A reach.
a reach, but I mean, you're not wrong. I don't have a center fielder yet. Now you've just certainly. I might end up with Byron Buxton. Who knows? Who knows? Okay. So now, where do I want to go? I'm going to go with. I'm going to fill my third base spot, I think, in this one. I'm going with Gary Gaetti.
Your corners are awesome. 1987 lives.
Yep, I'm going with
Topher's
Gary
got
Gaetti at third.
Topher's got the best clubhouse chemistry right now.
At least early in the career.
I'll take it.
Right. It became very different not long after
for
that.
sure.
But
For sure.
Huh. That doesn't leave me a lot. But I'm
We still got a lot of picks left here.
I'm drafting 2, right? All right. So we're gonna draft Viola as a pitcher.
nice.
Ooh, very good call. Sweet music.
Well, what do we do? There's a couple of different ways to go here. So Morneau out. Well, I'm gonna fill my shortstop with Roy Smalley.
That's a good call. I think he's the best overall shortstop available.
Well, he's gonna put bat to ball anyway.
Yeah. So now we're back to me already. That's the whole problem with the 3-person draft. You gotta think quickly.
There's no time to mull over what you did.
No, there really is not. There really, really is not. So I need outfielders. But I don't know if I want to reach for any of those guys yet. And Sweet Music is now off the board. Perry's on. I'm gonna go with. This one might be a little bit early, but I'm a big fan. Mudcat Grant. I'm gonna put him in my rotation.
I was looking at him for the next time around. Good call, bro.
When I took Span, Mudcat Grant was my other coin flip, but I was
baby.
I was thinking of center fielders going, if I end up with Ben Revere, I might, have a real issue because I don't like go-go enough to hang with that either.
There we go.
All right.
Take it.
So I'm up with 2, obviously. Dave told me I loved him, and he's not wrong. I'm just going to go ahead and take Michael Kadire and
Where
put
you
him in right
putting him?
field. Right field.
Oh, so I looked at him as the third baseman.
He was a terrible third baseman. I can't do it. And he didn't hit well when he was a third baseman either. So if we're judging by seasons, when Michael Kadire was the everyday right fielder, he was a much better ball player. Although most of those seasons he ended up playing first after Morneau got hurt. So that's why I got them both, so I can have that happen.
Your outfield is now complete.
It is. My infield is a mess. The right side is fine. I have no left.
Yeah, I'm good up the middle. That's it. All right, who's your next? Oh, no.
I have another pick.
Yep.
And it's going to make me wish that I knew the decades-old pitching staffs better.
Right.
Because after Cott and Mudcat Grant, I don't know the old pitchers as much as I should. Well, and especially after Dave took Jim Perry. I struggle with the older pitchers after that. If I can take Dean Chance based on his no-hitter only, I would. But, outside of that, I don't think I can. So my my team is going to make me look younger than it should because I'm going to stay a little more recent than maybe I should have. But as a third pitcher, and it's not based on one season, it's based on a handful. And I've met the guy and I love the guy. I don't have a problem with Kevin Tapani as my third pitcher.
There you go.
Yep, that's a good number 3.
Yeah, that's interesting. Get Tapani in there. So now I am going to fill up my outfield a little bit more here. I'm going to go with a right fielder. I'm going to put Bob Allison out there.
Good one.
Okay,
I apologize to the entire world for picking Michael Kadire ahead of Bob Allison. That doesn't make any sense, but
it does if you know Brian Prudhomme.
So now it's 2, right?
Yep.
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to roll the dice that a player that I want is going to be available later in order to really stack the pitching staff, and I'm going to go with Dave Boswell and then Camilo Pascual back to back.
Ooh, nice.
Ooh, I like the Camilo one.
Yep, that's a good one.
I do like Camilo going in there. Now, I am going to Brian's pick of Tapani got my wheels going a little bit more.
I just realized that my team is way too reflective of who I am. I have no power. I have no power on this team at all. None.
That's Minnesota Twins history for a while, though, right?
Yep.
Before the ball squad.
I'm gonna start picking Wally Backman and Al Newman and just load them up with guys that couldn't throw it over the fence.
We're gonna call Brian the Piranhas, right?
There we go. I'm gonna go with. Guy's got a lot of wins. He didn't have necessarily the longest career, but he has some good times in there. I'm going to the guy I loved, Scott Erickson.
Okay, that's a good one.
Again, though, is this one season? Because it's, I mean, Topher's got the greatest one-hit wonder squad ever. He's got Morris and Erickson going.
He's
got the world championships covered because his corners are 87 and his staff is 91. Hard to argue with what he's doing.
I got him as my 4th starter, by the way. That's not too bad.
All right. So I'm up.
So you're up now. Yep.
With 2, obviously.
Correct.
All right. So I've got Rodney at second, so it only makes sense to plug Zoilo in at short. Just let them be the middle infield together.
That. Yep. No, I like that.
I like that.
And he can provide a little bit of pop from a spot.
Well, and I was going to throw another name out there as somebody I considered, and I could have thrown him wherever, but I'll wait till the draft is over because we just don't want to give life away for people.
Yeah.
So my openings, if I'm correct right now, are only third base and catcher, right?
Third base catcher, designated hitter,
DH.
and 2 starters and a relief pitcher.
I'm not worried about the staff so much. If I have to spend the last round just picking pitchers, that's fine. And DH, I'm having a really hard time because you could put any player there technically, but there's 3 guys that I'm really having a hard time choosing between. So I will wrap up my catcher position just so it gives me longer time to think on the rest. And I will take Brian Harper by a nose over Mr. Przinsky.
Okay.
There you go.
Those are my 2 offensive guys that couldn't throw anybody out.
Yeah, really. Topher, what do you got?
There we go. I'm going to go with I'm going to fill my second base spot, and I'm going to go with Brian Dozier.
Had to figure he'd come out of there at some point.
I mean, it shows the drop-off. But
well, it's hard, but it's hard to argue with the 3 second basemen. I mean, you've got Rodney, Knobloch, and Dozier. I think we did that right. 1, 2, 3.
Yep. Who would be number 4? Arise?
Lombo?
Arise not yet. Luis Rivas.
I don't know. Yeah, Luis Rivas.
Yeah, it could be that.
He was all right for a while.
Who was your starting second baseman in '65?
That I don't know. Was
All
it
right,
Tovar?
so
Wasn't Tovar back then. He wasn't there yet.
I got two. I can't risk you guys are gonna steal him, so I'm taking Lyman Bostock as my next outfielder. So he'll be my right fielder. And I am going to take a risk on somebody who may be off your guys' board at third base, and I'm going with Sano.
Wow.
Oh, the
See,
Bomba Squad.
I mean, I love the bat, obviously, but I just like, for example, I'll just say it now. When Harmon Killebrew went second and went to left field, I was gonna take Harmon Killebrew if he would have been available at 3, which I would have tested your guys' beverages if he was available at 3, but I would have put him at DH just to keep all the defensive positions available because I look at Harmon and I look at the defense and I go, yuck. Miguel's not bad defensively, but he's not good either.
No, and I see. Here's where I disagree with you. I'm shocked that our first two wasn't Puckett and Carew. So, anyways, Toph, you're up.
Yeah, I'm up now, and I need a shortstop, center fielder, and DH.
Yep.
What do I want to do? Do I go into the Phil? The shortstop position is so shallow. I mean, you get guys that had good seasons here and there.
Yep. There
But
are two long enough mainstays that I would take.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there's one that's more obvious than the other, but Topher's got the team of 1 year wonders.
Hey, yeah,
There's one who had 1 year that was stupid good.
that's who's Brian already drafted Zolio. I'm gonna go with Greg Gagne.
That was one of the two mainstays for long enough that I thought would be obvious. So Topher's basically building the all-time World Series team because I think
I got 87 and 91 there.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but almost everybody that's on your team played in one, didn't they?
Dozier
yes, the only player.
And Mauer.
Dozier did, just not as a twin.
Well, yeah, that's true. Dozier did with the Doyers,
right? Well,
and the Nationals.
Yeah,
he's gotten the 2 since he left the Twins.
So if we simulate this season, I don't want to play Topher in September or later.
Yeah.
All right, so my 2 again.
Yep.
Yes.
And I need a third baseman and a whole bunch of pitchers and a DH, right?
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to take this guy as my DH just because I said I have no power in the lineup. I can think of 2 other guys I wanted maybe a little bit more, but I'll take Jim Thome at DH.
That's what I figured. Dang it.
Yeah, that's a
hoping he was going to slide through.
So I've got Thome and Morneau with lefty power, but that's about it.
Yeah, that's a good call there. Yeah. Who do we go with next? You know what? No, I'm not going to do that yet. Maybe. Do I just shock the world here and mess with Dave's head?
Yes.
And go with Joe Nathan.
Good call. This is like when the kickers come out in football.
Right.
I mean, it was a matter of he's the best one. When does he go?
All right.
Going with Joe Nathan.
There are lots of good ones in that.
Exactly.
Category.
Yeah, there's lots of good ones there. So it's not like you're screwing anything else over, but I went with it.
All right. So, because like Brian said, I don't really want to face Topher in a 1-gamer. So that means I need to go get my closer of Jeff Reardon. Because I know in a 1-game, he's proven 1-game winner. So I got my relief pitcher. Now I have a question for the judges. And
Topher, that's us.
This is obviously laying my cards on the table. I want to know if Paul Molitor is a first. Did he play first at all for the Twins?
No, because see, I wanted to do that too, I wanted to put Paul Molitor somewhere where he played in his life, but he strictly was a DH with the Twins.
All right, then that's my
Right.
DH.
Okay.
Molly's my DH.
It's not bad.
Because part of me pondered if Paul Molitor played third base for even enough time, I still have an opening there.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
Okay. I am going to. I think I'm going to keep the keep the World Series theme going. I love the guy. I love it. One of the greatest names in baseball history. Designated hitter. I'm going with Chili Davis.
All right. That's a good
I
pick.
love the guy.
Nails.
Going with Chili. Keep the chili hot. Brian's on mute again. I love it.
If it's one season, Topher's team is on fire.
There we go.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I need a
You need
closer,
a third baseman and a bunch of pitchers.
a third baseman, 2 starters, and a closer.
Yep.
I'll take my closer, even though there are lots to choose from. World Series train, hop aboard, Rick Aguilera.
Okay.
Because if I really wanted to stretch it, then I could use him as one of my starters too. He did both for the Twins.
There you go. Braggy.
And I need 2 more pitchers and a third baseman. Third base is just an abyss. I've got 2 guys in mind, one that's my era and one that's my dad's. And I'm not overly impressed by either one. But I'll just fill the third base void and I'll have the all concussion corners.
Yep.
I'm going to take Corey Koski over at third base.
There you go. I like that pick. I think
Basically, Topher's building a World Series team. I've got a whole lot of game 163 on mine.
I love it.
Because I've got Morneau, I've got Kadir, I've got Span, Koski, I've got that.
All
I've
right.
got that first 2000s playoff series win in Oakland. I've got that covered.
There you go. I'm going to go with, all right, so I'm down to a center fielder and a pitcher. I need to fill that center field spot. I'm going to go back into the 60s. I'm going to go with Twins center fielder Jimmy Hall, 2-time All-Star. Jimmy Hall is my center fielder.
Good call. I am stumped for third baseman.
I got one that didn't do much, but was a whole lot of the 60s.
Yeah, but there's a one-hit wonder in there too that I can do. Actually, I'm not looking at third baseman, am I? I need a first baseman.
Yeah, you just took Sano over your hot corner.
Yeah. Johnny Castino is the one that I was wondering back and forth on.
Wasn't he more of a second baseman though?
No, he's third baseman for
Okay.
his. Okay, so really, there's a couple of choices here, and the one I want to just give me 2 seconds. I want to see something. I'm cheating.
Oh,
But I'm cheating
That's
for
fine.
a name that will be fun to discuss. I just got to see what he did with the Twins. Yeah, nope, can't do it. Was looking at Vic Power, but he didn't hit enough.
it's a fun name.
Yeah, it's a good name, and we could talk best defensive first baseman of all time. That's the fun part of Vic Power. But I think what am I looking at? I got speed. I got a little bit of power. I need defense because my defense stinks. So I'm going with Dougie Baseball.
Nice.
Ooh, me and Tikowitz.
Yeah, right.
Then-
Depending upon the video game.
I like it.
Then my final pitcher, the number 5 starter. I've got a pretty solid number 5 starter. I have a couple of choices to go with, but I'm going with Radke.
Ah,
All right, my team's done.
that's okay. So I was going to go with Radke there. I'm not gonna lie. Who do I want to go with now? Now my starting pitchers are getting a little thin. With this guy.
There's two currents.
Mm.
There is one in that mid-90s,
Yeah.
60s starter, 70s
Yeah.
starter.
I keep thinking of older guys, but yeah, that's not a bad idea. I'm gonna go with Jose Barrios.
I wondered if he'd sneak in there.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I think he's earned his spot into the top.
I can tell you this:
15.
I'm never doing another draft off memory again. You guys love my memory. I don't today when I'm seeing the net results.
Well, it gets harder when we get deep into these things,
Oh yeah,
especially.
but I'm only going off folks I remember, and I believe my wife just got home, and my webcam is set up basically in the front entry, so it might get a little. It might sound like there'll be a draft celebration on my next two picks here.
That's all good.
It'll just be her walking through the door. So I need 2 starters, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, that's it, and that'll do it.
All right. So since we're going on one season of being good, being enough, I'm gonna blow Dave's mind and take John Smiley.
Ooh,
I
there you
didn't
go.
even think about John Smiley.
That's a good call.
A great call.
So I will take him. He'll be my 4th starter. So then I need a 5th, and this is the Mr. Irrelevant, correct? This is the
Yep.
end of said draft.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. This is the yeah.
So I can throw out all kinds of names that I thought about because I thought about
Yep.
Carl Pavano for 1 year.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go.
I thought about
Good call.
Joe Mays for the right year.
Here.
I'm still disappointed, by the way, that Christian Guzman didn't get picked by anybody.
Yep, he was on the list.
Dave Winfield didn't get picked by anybody.
Don Mincher.
Yeah, that was.
Don Mincher didn't get picked by anybody.
Garver.
Yeah, Terry Steinbach didn't get picked by anybody. We didn't do all the homecomings we could have.
Shane Mack,
Nope.
Tom Bransky.
Shane Mack and Tom
Shane Mack.
Bernanke never did make it and should have. My last starter is going to be Eric Milton.
That's a good one. That was the mid-90s one I was talking about.
I got no hitter cred in there. I thought about taking chance, so I took Eric Milton.
So the two that were in my running with Radke was Dave Goltz and Louis Tiant.
Oh, Louis Tiant.
Louis Tiant would have been great. See,
that's a great call.
I think you forget guys that were big names that happened to pit stop with the Twins. Nettles. Nobody took him either.
Steve Carlton.
Right. He's my prime example. He's god awful as a Twin. But dang it, he was there.
Yep.
Don Baylor.
Oh, that's funny.
Great career. Peanuts with the Twins.
Absolutely.
Tommy Herb, Brett Boone.
So now do we go on to our field managers?
Yep.
Yes.
Should we draft them in reverse? Brian, you get first choice, Toph second, me last.
Okay. So I've got an interesting mix because my first few picks screamed Sam Mealy because I had Rodney and Tony and Zoilo and all those guys. But then I've got majority guys that ended up playing for Gardy after that.
Yep.
So I'm gonna.
Can I add something in here?
Yeah.
Your designated hitter, and I think your first baseman would struggle with TK.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So I have the first choice at managers, and by no measure do I feel that he is the all-time Twins manager. But for the group that I got, I have to take Ron Gardenhire.
Alrighty.
All right. I mean, you talked about how much World Series cred I got going on my team.
Yeah, yours is
I got
obvious.
a lot of 87 and 91 guys.
Yep.
I'm going to go with the guy rocking Zubas and smoking a stogie, filling the pitching machine. I'm going TK.
Okay. So my team, I don't have a ton of power. My power comes really from 3 guys. If I pick one, he's going to be the starting staff.
So this one's not going on the radio again. Close circuit, Dave Cook.
No.
Continue.
I'm so sorry.
Continue.
We'll see.
Robert
Yeah,
Griffin, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, now I'm embarrassed. And Gene Mock just didn't win.
Well, after what you just said, you should obviously go with Billy Martin.
Yeah, that's the concern. But I think that's right. With the aggressiveness of my team, I'm going with Billy.
There you go. Keep those marshmallow salesmen away.
All right, so let's close with this because we've got our own teams. Let's really quick around the diamond do a consensus all-time Twins team. Start with the catcher. It's Mauer.
Well, before we do that, let's go through the rosters for people.
All right.
All right. Who wants to go first?
I will.
All right.
I've got Brian Harper because this is going to be a good test of my memory because I wrote nothing down. So one of you will probably have to tell me if I'm right. All right. I've got Brian Harper. I've got Justin Morneau. I've got Rod Carew. I've got Zolio Versailles. I've got Corey Koski. I've got Tony Oliva. I've got Denard Span. I've got Michael Kadire. And I've got Jim Thome. Yep. I've got Johan Santana, Jim Cott, Kevin Tapani, John Smiley, Eric Milton, and Rick Aguilera.
Yep.
And I hate my team, but thanks for playing.
I don't hate your team. You've got leadoff cred. You've got number 3 hitters. You've got a huge power source at DH. Your pitching staff's not bad when you're 4-starter Smiley.
My pitching staff I love, and it's a good thing because I've got leadoff, and then I've got a bunch of guys that either hit 4th, 5th, or 6th.
You got 3 MVPs in the middle of your lineup.
I do.
That's not too shabby.
Your problem is defense.
Yeah, I poked fun at you for drafting Sano. My whole team is Sano.
That's the beauty of doing these fantasy drafts, right? You're not worried about guys who can pick it.
Correct.
All right. So I've got catcher Joe Mauer, first base Kent Herbeck, second base Brian Dozier, shortstop Greg Gagne, third base Gary Gaetti, then left field Harmon Killebrew, center field Jimmy Hall, right field Bob Allison, with Chili Davis designated hitter. Then my rotation, we got Bert Blyleven, Blackjack Morris, Mudcat Grant, Scott Erickson, and my 5th starter is Jose Barrios. And then closing everything down, we got Joe Nathan, all managed by TK.
So here's my question. You have a real cleanup hitter. You have Joe, depending on where you want to put Joe. But you got a lot of, Herbie's a 5'6", Dozier in this lineup's a 5'6", Gags is a 9, Gaetti is a 7'8". What do you do with Hall, Allison, and Chili? Where are you batting them?
We're stacked in the middle of this lineup right now.
You are stacked.
Right. Topher's team is like mine in the sense that they literally can't run. And I don't know about that defensive outfield, but I will say as a whole, Topher's got the all-time iconic team. If you've got Killer, Mauer, and Herbeck on the same team, and even though Gagne isn't going to jump off paper, you ask a lot of Twins fans who's his shortstop. If they're not old enough to remember Zoilo, Gagne's going to come right out of their mouth.
It's
a fun team, but
go ahead, Toph.
Oh, go ahead. On paper, putting together an actual lineup on the field is going to be difficult because who's batting leadoff for this team? Is it Brian Dozier? And it's it is interesting to see the way this thing all shakes out. But it'd be fun to watch, that's for sure.
You're gonna you'd get smiles on if we were in a bar and everybody was listening, Topher would get the most high fives.
Oh, absolutely. The fan, if we put out a fan poll of who drafted the best team, Topher wins by a landslide. Yeah. Unless everybody loves Kirby Puckett enough where Dave's team wins. I get it. I get the most distant third, although maybe I appeal to all the 20-somethings.
So my catcher is Earl Batty. My first baseman is Dougie Baseball. Second baseman is Knobloch. Shortstop's Roy Smalley. Third baseman is Miguel Sano. My outfield is Puckett, Hunter, and Bostock. My designated hitter is Paul Molitor. My pitchers are Jim Perry, Frank Viola, Dave Boswell, Camilio Pasquale, and Brad Radke, and Jeff Reardon is saving the day.
The great team. I don't like that pitching staff much.
My pitching staff's my pitching staff is Viola and a bunch of 2-starters.
Yep, you've kind of got the Twins way. You've got a bunch of also rans asked to play bigger roles on your team.
What I have is my batting lineup besides Sano is just scrappy. Mankiewicz is probably my 9 hitter. and that'll just make him mad.
Right.
So the only thing I could have done is add AJ Przinsky, and I'd have a team of toolboxes as well.
Yeah, and you got
Knobloch,
Billy Martin running the ship. You've got the all-time
Right.
cluster in the
Right.
clubhouse,
So you
without a
got
doubt.
Knobloch, Mankiewicz, and Molitor are all grit and grind, right? Kirby is your superhero. Torrey is probably hitting 7th. Bostock's the great unknown because he could hit 2, 5, 6, 7, 8. Knobloch should probably be my leadoff hitter.
Yeah.
The crazy
So
part is,
I'm-
if you've ever seen Major League 2, Dave's got the team most likely to kick the crap out of each other.
Yes.
They won't.
Exactly
They won't
right.
get in. They won't get into a bench clearing brawl. They'll get into a brawl on their own bench.
Martin will be
That's
leading
true. Their
the way.
locker room will be interested.
Right.
Yeah.
They'll have to
Locker
do
room will be
the
interesting.
6 feet between all of them in the
Yeah, they
stands
all
just
COVID
so they don't
team.
get on each other.
They started social distancing. It was a choice.
The all COVID team. So somebody who's out there that has the simulation game should really try to put these together because it
And
would
Dave,
be a blast to see this.
Absolutely. And Dave, I wanted to ask you if you were embarrassed by that team initially, because you probably didn't know this, but as you started to read off your team, your video went away. So I thought maybe you were
Yeah.
hiding your face in shame after those first few.
It was kind of funny. The video disappeared right at that time.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm weak at first. I don't know about Dougie baseball at first, but Don Mincher was the only other option.
Well, I think we're all weak except for Topher's pull of Jimmy Hall. It was a great one to go back
Jimmy
to the
Hall is a
archives.
deep cut. Yeah.
Yeah, but whatever position that you decided to fill last is probably where you're weakest at. I mean, Corey Koski, I picked last positionally. He could have been great, but are we just going to phase out injury history? Because then I love my corners. If you consider how quick their careers evaporated, I don't love either corner.
Well, think about your outfield then too, because Tony O, injury problems, right?
Right.
Jim Thome kind of got dinged up at the end of his Twins career. I mean, your team in a 1 year, everybody's healthy is pretty good.
Yeah. It's just a matter of how many of them are out for the year by the All-Star break.
So who's
and
the
it had
guy
nothing
that
to do
got
with
left
COVID.
out? Who's the number one guy that got left out?
Lots of guys. Mac, Winfield.
Ortiz.
I'm glad you picked Molitor.
I was waiting for someone to take David Ortiz.
Right. But we went by what he did with the Twins, so we didn't say anything.
How about Nelson Cruz?
Yeah. How about well, if you go that route, then I still buy into Steinbach and Winfield, the hometown kids that just a year, but it was a good one.
Yep, 100% agree. I think we have some really interesting, and the shortstop. Doggone it, I should have thought about Polanco.
Well,
Polanco's up there.
Nobody's going to put him in left field, but he played left field on 2 World Series teams, and he's in the radio booth, and nobody even mentioned Dan Gladden one time.
He
belongs on my team.
Yeah, I guarantee Shades would have taken him first overall.
Right. I was going to say, we've got some viewers and listeners that would have taken him number 1 overall. We should have included fans into this just because the wrinkle it would have provided would have been insane. All right.
Sure.
So to close the day, because I think we're way over an hour here in hour number 2, but we knew this was going to do this.
And the laptop's about to die, so let's go.
So the all-time team around the diamond. Catcher, it's Mauer. Any objections?
Nope.
Easy.
First base, is it Herbeck if you don't put Harmon there?
Or is it Morneau?
I mean, it depends on you're looking at
longevity. Longevity, only the one team grew up here. I think you don't want to do sentiment when you're doing all-time team, but Herbeck's got fact along with sentiment to me.
I'm going with Morneau. He's the MVP.
Yeah, I think when you're looking at it's just first base. I think it's easily those two are the top two, Herbeck or Morneau, when we're talking about those two. And there's an argument to be had for both. I mean, Morneau, you could make an argument he probably should have won 3 MVPs.
Yep.
The year that he got knocked out, he was on a way to another MVP season that year, and plus the year that Brian's boy Pedroia won it, Morneau probably should have done it.
Yep.
But if we consider defense, and not to say that Morneau was bad, but if Don Mattingly didn't exist, Herbeck should have been a multiple Gold Glove winner.
He'd be in the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely.
If Donnie Baseball didn't exist.
And when we looked at all the different numbers, some of us, led by me, had Herbeck ahead of Joe Mauer overall. When you look at all these different numbers with OPS and slugging, and Herbeck's on-base percentage wasn't that bad. Granted, he couldn't run, but when we looked at everything, it's like, man, he did a lot of things better than people realized.
Second baseman's easy, right? That's Rodney.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
So did we decided not to make a decision at first? We just left the debate hanging?
I guess.
I don't think there's a decision to be made. It's one of those two.
All right.
Topher can make it, I guess, because you're all
I
in
think
on
Herbeck.
Herbeck.
I
I'm
picked
all in on
Herbeck, so
Prudhomme.
I'm going with Herbeck.
I agree.
Herbeck's at first.
2 beats 1. Herbeck for the win.
There we go.
Second base is Rodney. Shortstop, Zoilo, Gagne for longevity. Guzman if you love triples.
When money was on the table, it's Gagne.
Yeah, Gagne got 2 World Series.
Yep.
2 rings.
And he tore the cover off the ball in the playoffs.
But if you do the more no argument, Zoilo's the MVP.
Yeah. With
That's true. Zoilo had the best season ever for a shortstop.
Well, and I'm just going to bring my shortstop back in the mix, and that's Smalley.
Yeah. See, and that Roy Smalley for me is one of the most fun, polarizing figures in Minnesota Twins history because depending upon how old you are or how critically you followed, like Roy Smalley is remembered by Dave in iconic fashion as he gives us a full-fledged view of the logo.
No, I got to plug in the.
I understand what you're doing, but I remember more of the Roy Smalley being not a role player, but certainly not an everyday player, but part of that 87 team, and then not long after being gone. And Dave apparently gave me the game show version of that's correct. But Roy Smalley is a fun one to think about. So shortstop has a few options. None of them blow doors off statistically, but there are some options. Third base, does it have to be Harmon then? Because I know Topher did it in the draft, but I'm just not going to put him in my outfield.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's tough. I think, and if you have to play him somewhere, and we didn't have him at first base, I think Harmon probably third base.
Yeah, I think he's third base.
He's on the
guy
team
that we
for
have
sure.
currently isn't in his league. Koski got hurt. I suppose Gaetti would be second, right?
Well, and not to mention, if you don't know where to put him, any all-time team of the Twins that doesn't mention Harmon Killebrew should be thrown straight in the trash.
Right.
Yes.
Question is
exactly. He's on the team somewhere. It's just put him in any position.
Right.
So what's your outfield?
There lies the question too, because Tony Oliva was kind of the original DH, wasn't he? But are you going to slide him as the DH on your all-time team then and make room for someone else? I drafted him as a left fielder. Topher drafted Harmon as a left fielder.
Yeah, I think that our outfield depth is the strength of the Twins organization. Mm-hmm. And so you put Tony O at DH, and then you have Puckett and choose your other 2 guys.
All right, so I'm on board with that. So then we got to choose the other 2 guys.
I think, do we want someone who played left field? I mean, Dave said he put Torrey in left, right? But did he ever play a game in left field for the Twins?
I don't remember that happening either. Otherwise, to me, I do go Torrey Hunter and Bob Allison and let them play a corner each.
Yeah,
right.
I think the only guy that can nudge his way into that is Bostock. And Bostock didn't play all that long. That's the problem.
Right.
But had he played a little bit longer, he's a no-brainer. And then, of course, if he wouldn't have got shot when he was in California.
Right.
Well, yeah.
All right, so 5 starters. Not easy because you get the one season issue again.
So it's Cott,
it's Blyleven,
Viola.
Yeah.
And then you need 2 more.
I think Johan's in there.
Johan's in the Twins Hall of Fame. He's got to be in there.
Yeah.
So, all right, there's your top 4. Number 5 is a tough one.
Bloodcat. Bloodcat's in the Hall as well.
Bloodcat
as well as 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably him. It's probably Pasquale.
Probably.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. He's right up there.
Is Mudcat the victim of being the proverbial Robin because of Jim Cott, where Pasquale was kind of in his own plateau?
Yeah, yep, and that's not talking Perry, and it's not talking, like you said, Smiley. Smiley was a great pull.
Well, but it was a one-year wonder. Jim Perry, and Brad Radke both are in the Twins Hall of Fame. Now, a lot of people remember Radke being good for 8 innings and just scratched the first, but he won 20 games.
Yeah, that's true, and he didn't walk a soul.
Right.
Yeah.
Closer is Joe Nathan.
I think it's Joe Nathan. I think there's argument for Reardon and Aggie, but
right. It's not as far away as it should be, but it's Joe Nathan.
I don't think there's an argument for Aggie. I think the battle is between Nathan, who's top 5 closer at all time, and Reardon, who changed the Twins from being a a team that might to a team that when it was in the 7th inning, you knew this puppy was over.
Well, here's the thing. We always talk about revolutionizing a position. I'm not going to say that Jeff Reardon revolutionized the closer position because he didn't as a
For the
grand
Twins, he
statement.
did.
But for the Twins, he absolutely did.
Yep.
Because when you say the Twins have been blessed at closer, you're right. If you start the conversation with Jeff Reardon, all due respect to Al Worthington and the heart failure of Ron Davis, everybody remembers. But
Marshall.
but starting with Reardon and you go to Aggie and you go to even LaTroy Hawkins was fairly good at it. Joe Nathan was very good at it. Glenn Perkins was very good at it. Dave Stevens, believe it or not, was okay at it. John Roush was fun to watch.
You keep forgetting Guardo.
Everyday Eddie did his thing.
Everyday Eddie,
Yeah. So there were several, but they didn't seem to come along until Jeff Reardon did. It was like when we went and signed Jeff Reardon, we as an organization, the Twins, realized that, this position might be kind of important. So the question to that end becomes, how long till Dave Cook realizes that position is pretty important?
I think that those are your two though, and Nathan's in my opinion, Nathan's a top 5 to a top 10 all time closer, and Reardon is just the guy who revolutionized the Twins as a franchise.
All right. So that'll wrap it up for today. It's been awesome, guys. Hour 1's available as well. We did a little more around the horn, if you will, sports talk. This was exclusively Minnesota Twins fantasy draft style. Feel free to just litter us with comments. Whose team is great? Whose team is atrocious? Who did we forget? I'd be interested in all of those. I'll own up that my team is not good already. That'll save me some embarrassment. But also in comments, we like to do this fantasy draft bit as a segment with no live sports going. We can come up with ideas on our own. But what would you like to see us do?
Yep.
Do you want an all-time Vikings team? Do you want an all-time Wild team? Do you want an all-time Wolves team with a bench because we struggled enough to fill out a starting 5? Do you want us to do something more local? All-time Bulldogs, all-time Gophers, all-time high school players, what have you. We can do this. Let's have some fun with it, but we want to have fun for you guys too. And last question for you guys. Do we reconvene tomorrow if Scott Perunovich wins tonight?
I don't know about Easter Sunday, but we could certainly meet Monday.
I'm on board.
Let's just hope this thing works out. I hope we have a reason to get together. I hope Scotty P takes home that trophy.
Well, maybe that's
the it factor, man. If you can't have that kind of it factor and not win the Hobie, I want to see the other guy.
But maybe that's what we do. Maybe we reconvene Monday anyway, because if he doesn't get it, it'll be like vent line, as they say.
Well, and we can do it during wrestling, and I can give you some live updates on what's going on the mat.
That sounds like a good idea. You watch wrestling, I'll watch a movie. We'll both be wondering what comes next in the script. Sounds like a good idea.
All right, guys.
All right, guys.
All right, gentlemen. Have a great rest of your weekend.
Attaboy.
Thanks, everybody. This is the Northland Sports Page. We'll see you again soon. Take care.